Alright, I finally ordered my Tundra's PowerSteps. Pretty good list of some of the vehicles that Amp Research makes steps for. This is everything out of the box. These are the idler assembly and the motor assembly, these arms. You can see they move around pretty slick. This is a motor. There's a motor cover. There's the brains and some wire nuts and nuts and bolts and some zip ties. I have no idea what that is. It looks like it must be a wire harness. And of course the steps themselves. Alright, we're going to attach the motor assembly. So I'm going to stick a little blue thread locker on these. It doesn't say that you need to do this. I'm just doing it because, well, I can. And it'll help make sure that things don't vibrate loose. Alright, let's install the motor. There you go. Okay, this is the motor installed on the motor linkage. Again, because I'm anal, sticking a little blue thread locker. On all of these nuts and bolts. Doesn't take much. And blue is the medium stuff, so you can break them free again. Don't use the red. Alright, the first step here is going to be to flip over the parking brake bracket. And if you come towards the back door of the truck, you'll see it back here. It's this guy right here. We're going to pull that bolt off, disconnect it from the cable, flip it around and put it back in. And that's just to get it out of the way of the swinging step. Alright, this is a 12mm socket. Got an extension on there just to get it around the bracket itself. It's winter here while I'm working on this, so you'll see water and stuff coming off of the truck. And that's why. Flip it over. Like that. Alright, we're going to scoot it just to the right to make it fit. So it's still going to be on that metal sleeve, but only on one side. So on this bracket you can see there's a little tab here sticking off. I think they just want you to install it and let it, rest against the truck, but I've made a little mark here. I'm going to drill a little bit of a divot for it to rest in. Alright, I'm going to stick some paint in there so it doesn't rust. Alright, after giving that paint some time to dry, you can reinstall the bracket. Job done. Right now that we've got the parking brake line sorted, we flipped that bracket over to get it out of the way. So now we're going to install the motor linkage and then the idler linkage. And you're going to go for the bolts they kind of line up between the door handle and the Tundra logo here. And you'll feel them under there. But I'll show you in a second. And then there's some more towards the back. And this is all in the instructions. Okay, this is looking front to back. These are the bolts that we'll need to remove in order to install the motor linkage. And then way back there are some more bolts just past the or close to the back of the door there. And those are the ones that we'll take off for the rear one. So these are the same 12mm socket that we used to flip over the bracket. Let's get them finger tight first and then hit them with a socket wrench. Okay, interesting to note is that the bolts provided by Amp Research are 13 millimeters, and the ones you'll remove from the truck are 12s. So you'll need a 13 millimeter socket. Let's put these guys up. And the rear bolts are the ones right next to our bracket. Pretty cool. Okay, we're ready to install the steps themselves, but before we do that I wanted to give you a little tip. If you have mirrors like mine, make sure you push them in, because when they're sticking out like this and you're bending up and down, you're bound to slam your head into them like I just did a few minutes ago. So save yourself a headache and push them in. Get them out of the way. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, I'm going to show you the way these are designed. There's a bracket here that slides in the track on the step themselves. So I've got them upside down, and I'm going to line them up as well as I can with the step bracket right there and back there, and then we'll flip it around, and there's a groove in here that this sits into, so it should hold it there pretty well when we're putting some bolts in. Important step to note here is before you tighten down your side steps, make sure that this edge lines up with the seam in the back of the door. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, once you have everything lined up, just tighten down these Allen bolts. You can see they kind of bite into the step and gives it that stability that you want. Okay. There's a groove, or two grooves rather, one for each zip tie in the controller box. Let's just call it the brains. So what you want to do, and there's a groove in the back of it, you can see that, that wraps around that wire loom. So the best way to do this is to slide your first zip tie around and get it started while you're not having to hold the control box in place. So now it's wrapped around there. Now you can slide the control box into place. And this will hold it there for us. Keeps it from running away on you. Let's cut off the excess zip tie. Now we need to take off the fuse, take the fuse out, and put it somewhere smart, because you're going to want to put it back in to get the steps to work a little later. But this will keep you from frying anything while you're fooling around with the wiring. With the fuse out of the harness, we're ready to tackle this. This is attaching the positive wire to the battery, and it looks like a 12mm nut. Yep. Alright, let's connect the positive to the terminal. In order to make this fit well, pull the existing leads off and stick it on the bottom, that way you can twist it underneath and put the plastic case back on. you put that back on. There we go. Okay, now we're going to move on to the ground wire. And the ground wire is going to be this guy right here mounted to the side of the inner fender. And that is a 10mm nut. Okay, grab your ground, that's this guy right here. Feed the nut through those. And put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Alright, now we're going to connect the wiring harness to the controller. There's only one way to do it, so just look at the way the shape of the pins are. Let's snap them in. Alright, once you've got your wire harness connected to the brains, and you've got your power cord connected to the positive lead on the battery and the negative on the frame, you are ready to rock and roll. So what we're looking for here is the longer and the shorter of the two leads. Because the one for the longer one that goes on the passenger side, it's got a longer trip to take, and the shorter one goes on the driver's side. So what we're going to do is organize the wires. I wanted to give you a clear idea of where the wires went here. So for the long one, we ran it along this line. You can see it zip tied up, down into the fender well, out on the frame rail, which you can see down here. And I zip tied him right there. And then he's under the frame. We haven't cooked him up yet, but we'll get there. And on the driver's side, ran him through here and down into the wheel well. So he pops out. This is inside the front driver's side wheel well. That's the frame rail, and that's the line. We'll end up tying him up to this parking brake line, and it ran underneath here. You can see it down there maybe. Over to the motor. Alright, I wanted to show you how gross my hands look. Be prepared for that. As you're running the wires, you're going to get dirty. It's just the way it is. But I'm going to go clean up because I have to do some interior work now, and I don't want to get this shit all over my carpet. Alright, now we're going to do a little bit of interior work to hook up the cables that will tell it when the doors are open or closed, that will turn the lights on and deploy and retract the steps. So we're going to take out the floor mats, obviously, and we're going to peel off these guys. They're just held in with clips. So just pop them off and find places where you can grab and pull up. Don't be shy. Okay. Now you can see there's another wire loom here, and we're going to peel up the carpet here and take off this kick panel. Okay, we're also going to take off this kick panel and footwell. And you'll notice there's a little plastic nut here. Just unscrew it. A little plastic nut. And then we should be able to pull it out. There should be clips at the base of it. This is how we'll get access to the wires we're connecting to. There you go. There's a clip here that holds this on, so just pop that clip off and then peel the carpet up, and you'll see the grommet under there that we need to get at. Alright, I wanted to show you where the grommet is here that we're gonna, or the little rubber seal that we're gonna cut to pull the wires in for the control. See where I'm pointing here? There's a little rubber grommet in there. We're gonna make a slit in it and then pull the wires through, and there's even a track that we can run them in. And the wires will pop out over here, and we'll do our wiring up in the corner. Okay, where this razor blade is pointing is at our little rubber plug, and I'm going to poke a little slot into it. And this is what the passenger side looks like after you've pulled those wires through that little rubber plug. In the passenger footwell here, there's a little gray connector at the very bottom. I don't know if you can see what I'm pointing at, but we'll pull that one out. And then you'll see a blue and a white wire on it. And that blue and white wire are the wires that will connect these blue and white wires to using those PowerStep connectors. Let me show you how you do that. So we'll start by stripping about 3/8 of an inch off of the tip of these. Show you how I do that. Alright. And you'll insert that into the PowerStep. The PowerStep. See how there's a little wire sticking out of there? Okay, so you take this little gray plastic piece, you slide it around the wire that you're going to tap into, like so. And then you take this little gizmo and you'll see that one of the ends has what looks like almost like a needle in it, and that's what's going to tap into your wire. So as you tighten that down, you're actually punching into the wire, kind of like a vampire tap. The old vampire tap stuff, but this is a little cleaner and faster, I think. You take this guy, and now he's connecting to the other side of that pin. And that is how you use a PowerStep. It's pretty straightforward. So we basically tap this wire into our blue wire. Now we got to do the same with the white. So now we've got the PowerStep on the white wire and the PowerStep on the blue wire, and we just have to plug this clip back in. Easier said than done with one hand. There we go. Now we just tuck all these wires out of the way and put the passenger side back together. Okay, and this is connecting the plug to the motor on the passenger side. On the driver's side, it's the exact same plan as it was on the passenger side. We're going to remove this kick panel and this kick plate right here. And again, don't be shy. Just kind of feel around where you feel an edge that you can get your finger under and pull up, and try and pull straight up. Pull this guy off. And then again in here, there's one of those bolts that you need, a little plastic bolt. Okay, after you have that out, put it somewhere smart, kind of like you did with that fuse. I'm putting it in the door. So this is the rubber plug from the driver's side. I just went ahead and pulled it all the way through this time. Makes it a little easier to cut it. Because then this way you can just feed the wire through it and put it back together, and we're done. Okay, now because we have the plug out and the wires are pulled through the hole that's in the floor from the plug, we can just insert our wires out here, which will be much easier to pull than if you tried to leave this plug in the floor and pull them all the way through. Okay, the plug is installed again, and now we just need to snap back down the carpet. Easy enough. And now let's strip the tips off of these wires and hook them up to their appropriate wires using the PowerSteps. We also need to remove this whole lower dash panel. There's two bolts, 10 millimeter bolts on either side in the lower corners. I need to remove it completely. So pull it out a little bit. Alright, now that we've got the dash opened up, we're ready to start connecting some things. So I'm going to take the gray wire from Amp Research and connect it to the dark charcoal wire in pin 2 on this green row here, so the one in the middle. It's going to be a little bit tight in there to do it, but the PowerSteps are so easy. I'll hook it up and show you how it looks. Alright, now let me show you how that looks. So that's our gray wire to the charcoal wire on pin 2 of the green clip underneath the dash. Now for the blue wire. Blue wire goes in this black clip. I've pulled it out for us. This black clip is normally plugged in right there where I'm pointing. And we're looking for the blue wire in this clip that's the fourth up from the bottom, this light blue wire here that I'm pointing at. Hopefully you got a good view of that. And I'll hook it up to a PowerStep and show you what I mean. Alright, I realize it's kind of hard to see in the video, but we got our PowerStep on that blue wire in there, and we'll plug it back in and test them. Let's put the fuse in and test it, and hopefully they'll work and we can put in the lights next. Alright, for a test. There we go. Should be a little delay. There you go. Let's get wiring some lights. Alright, now that we know everything is working, we are going to wire some lights, and this is going to be pretty easy. Instructions have you mark from this part of the door in the front of the car, or the truck rather, 21 inches over to here, and then 69 inches over to there. So I've marked those two spots with some tape. Now we just have to drill them out with 9/32 drill bit. What I'm doing here is just making a little dent in the surface to keep the drill from crawling around on me. Now we're gonna go crazy, punch a hole in the truck. Now that I have a hole in it, I'm doing the same thing where I stick a little bit of paint in there just to seal it up so it doesn't rust. Totally unnecessary step. Unless you're a overly meticulous freak like me, but you know, let this stuff dry and then stick those little rubber grommets in. Alright, we're ready to start installing some lights. So first step is to strip the wires from the harness. That's the longest one that goes all the way back to where the lights install on the truck. Should be a black and a red like that. Install this rubber grommet that's provided in the kit. Once you have the grommet all the way in, you'll slide the light in. It's just feeding the wires through the holes in it. Sliding it all the way in. And now we connect the wires. It's pretty obvious here what you do. You go black to black and red to red. There. Take some electrical tape and wrap those connections really well, well past where connection is up onto that string tubing, and then back down again so that you get all that stuff as protected from the weather as you can. Now it's taped up really well, and let's test it before we stick it into place with that 3M adhesive tape. Looks like it lit up to me. Okay, now that we know the light works, let's peel off this backing on the back of it. Stick it into place. Alright, the lights are working. That's good news. Now the next thing to do would be to clean up all of our wiring and put that cover on the motor. And that's the very last thing we have to do. So let's put the cover on the motor and zip tie up some wires and do the other side and wrap it up. Alright, just trying to show you the finished product here. Thing splits open at the base, which is crazy that even works, but that's what holds those in place, those little clips. You can see a clip right there is holding it in place, and that's our cover. It's on there pretty good. Now I just have to zip tie up the rest of the wire and we're good to go. Alright, thought I'd give you just a quick demonstration. All the wires are cleaned up now. You can see that the light's working.